needs, that should a Board of Education need it for special education, that it is intended for that purpose. We did use 20 of that grant last year, 20,000 of that last year for some unanticipated special education costs. So at this point, and it's a May payment, it's not a payment that you've received already, at this point, that's the estimated revenue for additional revenue for special education.
I'm not quite understanding that. You used some of it for last year's costs?
Joe's request we made for the last year, that you end up giving us the allocation for 20.
But at that time, we budgeted $59,000 for special education excess costs. Were we taking it from this year's budget and putting it into last year's?
I mean, last year what happened was we got a notification in May that there was going to be an additional $26,400 that was going to be used for a specific purpose for excess special education costs if we met the criteria for it. That's when we came before you before. It appears you're giving us notification now that we're going to receive that again. I don't think it's anywhere in anyone's budget at the moment, but it's just, you know, this letter came in saying, you know, designating this that same amount again that's going to be coming to town in May.
We did budget the $59,000 in this year's budget, so we are budgeting it as revenue coming in.
You understand that that 59, now I know where you get the 59. That's because we have a high-cost student, and that's what we anticipated in excess cost allocation. This is additional to that.
Okay.
All right? Hopefully that's clear. That's clear.
Okay.
Yep. I'm sorry
I didn't understand the 59 either, sorry, but that makes sense.
Right.
Okay.
I get it.
Anything else? Any questions, comments? Okay. Bookkeeper's report.
Okay, it's going to be short and sweet here. Everybody wants to know about tax collections. I saw Linda today. Everything is fine. She's just about on track for where she was last year at this time, so she has no concerns, which is good. The other thing that we are working on is, you know, we've been changing banks from Bank of America to Northwest Community. We're almost complete with that. We've got about 6 accounts left at Bank of America. Everything else has been transitioned over to Northwest Community. And one thing that's pretty cool that I just want to point out, under the short-term interest, which is the 448 account, which is about halfway down your revenue report there. What we've taken in so far year-to-date for short-term interest has been $22,000, and this is just for November. I just want to point out that last year at Bank of America, we only brought in $13,000 for that whole year.
Whole year.
So, for the whole year versus 22, and we're just at November. So, this is pretty cool.
Found money, found money.
And the only other thing that I've been working on diligently is FEMA. We've had storms like crazy. I'm like up to my eyeballs in just doing reports for Storm Irene, which was the rainstorm back in August, that I'm still working on reports. I do not have any firm numbers yet because I'm still doing preliminary stuff, if you will. I haven't even got into FEMA reports for the power outage week-long thing.
Alfred.
And that's about all I've got for right now. Oh, and just to report also, you know, Philip pointed out that he had his reports. These are directly off the accounting system. So it is what it is. There's no projections in here or anything like that. It's strictly right off the accounting system for both revenues and expenses.
Anything else? Any questions or comments before we move on? Okay, treasurer's report.
You're getting a copy of the main accounts that we report to you, or each month, as treasurer, I report to you some of the largest investment accounts that we have. There are lots of operating accounts, which some of which are covered by Annie's report, but we simply share with you sort of summary figures here. You'll see under capital reserve account that there's a fair jump. That's due to a consolidation of some accounts that we had. We had separate investment accounts when we were at Bank of America. We closed some accounts, consolidated them into the capital reserve account, and that's why there's been about a $200,000 jump there. The investment account itself is holding steady, $110,000. It's been there for quite a while. And the short-term interest account, which is the main earner that Annie just referenced, where we were getting 1% for the first few months. I think it's down to 0.85 or something the last I looked. So it's tailing off, but it's still held up. Well, that was one of my concerns when we got started here, is that it was a teaser rate, but it was not a teaser rate. That's one of the reasons we made a decision to go with them. Lots of banks were offering us 1% this and that to join up, but they couldn't promise that it would. It was just could be a few months, 6 months, and then down to something like you guys may see in your checking accounts. But this has held up pretty well, and we are tax collections are fine. We're at $3 million plus heading into the end of the year, so we should be in good shape. And that's all I have. Nothing else of consequence.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Thank you. When you say that you consolidated some accounts into the capital reserve, so it's 200,000 more, where would that money have shown up here? Or it wouldn't have, or?
We had different investment accounts which were established a long time ago for. Annie has some of the history if you wish to hear it.
I just
What,
wanted to.
Sure,
what
sure, sure.
happens is that when the fiscal year starts and you have your budget, part of the general fund is your capital projects, each designated capital project. Say you got 50,000 for a dump truck or whatever for a grader,
Right, yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Those are all in the general fund. So what you need to do is you cut a check from the general fund for each specific line item
Right,
for that capital. And what you're doing is you're transferring it out of the general fund and you're moving it over into a separate capital reserve account. That's the timing when we did that, and we also closed the bank account for the capital reserve account at Bank of America and moved those funds over to Northwest Community. So everything is over at Northwest Community Bank in the capital reserve account, including the new fiscal year allocated capital amounts.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you, yeah.
That'll be reflected in the auditor's report, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah.
What's the status of that, by the way? The audit?
Well, those guys have been hammering me a lot lately, so I think they're getting pretty close
My
at
point is,
wrapping up.
it's in process,
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. It's usually like January.
Usually
Yeah.
it's, well, I guess maybe it had been December, but now it's kind of slipped into January.
We do have new auditors from King & King this year. The auditor that was handling New Hartford, Shelley Sundby, has moved on to Grant Pastures, so we are experiencing somewhat of a learning curve with
Training new people.
training, not necessarily training, they know what their expertise is, but knowing where to look for different things and how the town is managed, so we have new faces coming in, and there's been a little bit more correspondence on how to go, and Shelley was very experienced and she knew our
She
filing
knew where
system better.
everything was in the
You
file
shouldn't have to ask,
cabinet.
she knew
You
where the
just
file
go right
cabinets
over there and
were.
grab it.
Yeah, so we still have faith in King & King, but like all things change and you get new faces, and sometimes there's a little bit of learning curve there and new people, so.
Well, if it's ready and, it's completed, we'll go over it at our January meeting. If not, we can still do it in February, still be in advance of the budget. We definitely want to have that in our hands before budget time. Okay, anything else before we move on? To first selectmen's report.
Well, I just want to start, we had two requests, obviously you've already gone through one of the two requests of me from the last meeting was the King & King letter. The second letter was a brief description of the improvements scheduled for Brown's Corner. Obviously, we have the site plan that has been approved by P&Z. I did give you a little, I made some copies and wrote you a little bit of a letter that outlines what's on the map. Not everything that's here is on the map, but just read you a copy of the letter that Reg asked me to write. The town of New Hartford is currently working towards completing the approved site plan for Brown's Corner. At our October meeting, a request was made for information pertaining to what improvements are proposed for Brown's Corner. The proposed improvements include, but are not limited to, the following items: new trees, improved driveway and parking, ADA site improvements, utility relocation, fencing, basketball court reconstruction, new benches, signage, low-flow toilets and urinals, and any and all Department of Public Health water system requirements. Completion of items will be based on the bids received. Please see a copy of the approved site plan, which is just a reduction showing the area that we're working in now. So, anybody wants a copy of the letter, that was, give you that. Should pass those around. And the full copy of the map obviously is available in my office or in Rista's, so if anybody needs a copy of the map, they can see the parking. So, just so everybody recognizes, last year we did the 2-acre portion of parking from here that way, with this area being complete, and now we're working on this side over, plus all the ADA situation over here. So. Like any applicant that comes before the town, you have 5 years to complete a site plan. I think the initial approval goes back to 2007. Technically, it's a 5-year approval to complete the requirements of the site plan application. You could get a 5-year extension if you need it, but basically, the fill on the site that's being removed by Hemlock Construction is down to really the final couple truckloads.
Big change since,
Massive change since 2 years ago when I came on board. I think we'll really have a clean palette to work with in the spring, and I think that it'll be all bets are full steam ahead. I do have one contractor doing work down there right now, which is Cape Cod Fence, doing some of a portion which you can't see on this map, which is the zoning required a chain link fence along the Route 202 frontage for safety's sake. So we have that chain link fence going on. They can work all winter long if need be. So they are working down on that right now. So, and like anything, ADA improvements and the pitch and the slope of that is pretty tough. You know, when I put in the completion of items will be based on the bids received, when you talk about ADA and what it will take to construct the handicap accessible ramps and things like that, it's not an exact science. So that's why I say some of these things may have to be removed when we find out the realities of what the bids come in. You know, we'll obviously work within our budget. So, but so I just wanted to let everybody know, and the full copy of the map is in my office, and we have it. Any questions?
Can I ask you about the trees there? I know there was a lot of damage with the storm.
Mhm.
Was that covered by the Marchetti, the contractor from before, or is that going to be part of the new trees? You have to pay to have them replaced?
The care and maintenance was not, they were warranted for death due to drought or something like that, but not damage of a storm.
I wondered, right.
We might be able to include something in our FEMA. I'm not sure if it would be a reimbursable expense or not for damage to the park. I doubt that it is, but the allocation there is for the trees on this side of the driveway.
For different, yeah.
Plus, we wanted to add some in where there was some taken out several years by the restrooms. So, I did see that there was, I mean, like most trees in certain areas, we took a lot of damage to a lot of trees, which was gonna be the next part of my update for the storm. You know, depending on what the budget will bear, if some of them are a total loss and we have money in the budget to replace some of them, we will. Like I said, any questions?
Not yet.
Just to fill it out, and I think Dan just forgot, the Board of Rec approved the youth sports are putting in a substantial drainage system from left field of the American Legion. The new excavation has created apparently a small pond over there. It isn't costing the town anything, so I just wanted to let the Board of Finance know that youth sports has raised $14,000, and that's the bid, and it was approved by P and Z to be done. So that's also work that's going on down there.
If you're looking at this map, it's in the area where it says 174 parking spaces. That's the field that they're talking about, right in that area. And Rista has given them the permit to work in that area, so it is quite, well, difficult to gauge in a year like this. We've had so much rain, what the cause is, but the bottom line is that it has been soaking down in that corner consistently all summer long. So, with that, move on a bit, unless there's any other questions. Okay. The majority of, I wanted to be a little bit briefer than I was with the Board of Selectmen with regard to the winter Halloween storm Alfred. Update, you can see that I did include some photographs that I showed and updated the Board of Selectmen on. Obviously, we endured a second major event past our tropical storm Irene. We had winter storm Alfred. Obviously, we're out of power for at least a week. It started at 1 p.m. People were playing soccer down at Brown's Corner, and the next thing you know, we are in the throes of a major snow event. It was a challenging time for everybody. I think a lot of people really took the opportunity to shine. With that, I think we all know the lowlands in New Hartford really were the areas hardest hit. Dings Road and Steel Road were hit very, very hard. The high ground, West Hill and Cotton Hill, East Cotton Hill, all the way up on top on Southeast Road were unimpacted. But the lowlands, you know, it seems like Steel Road coming after having been hit hard in Irene was hit hard again with just you know, another week out of power. And what we did is obviously went back to basics. I mean, really, it was a make safe operation first to open up our roads and make sure that we could get people to hospitals where we could, and then move forward to, you know, trying to get the lights on and open up roads where we could in terms of freeing up seniors or group homes of that nature. And I have to say that with regard to the town hall infrastructure, the emergency service equipment that was put in, the generators that came long before they functioned very, very well in town hall. The generator at Antolini functioned very, very well. We actually opened the shelter for several nights at Antolini, and at one point I think we had 25 or so people stay, and were served upwards of 100 meals to different people. I mean, we had a system-wide collapse, no communication available to the town hall. But the Board of Education employees and the folks at the school really stepped up. We had warming centers here and at the firehouse across the river. The emergency service personnel were phenomenal. The school personnel were phenomenal. And once again, when we asked them, it seemed like last winter, we asked them to shovel off roofs and to expend some funds on behalf of, you know, the larger cause. Once again, Dr. O'Reilly and the school service, the folks, was it Donna, who runs the kitchen, do you recall? She was wonderful. Mr. Rick and Mr. Mike, as they call them up there, and Lorraine, the custodial staff up there were phenomenal, spent a lot of hours there. And we're whipping up meals for people, and it was really amazing to see people step up and shine in what was a pretty daunting task. Obviously, we didn't get power back. We didn't get any restoration until, you know, basically Wednesday. We didn't really see any significant amount of crews until Tuesday. They sat in the Wary parking lot for 4 hours in the morning, at which point, you know, we started getting Larson on the phone and started trying to turn screws to get people to work, and you know, things started happening. But, you know, there were many people that endured an entire week. You know, the lights went on in the downtown area Wednesday. And really because of the ability to repair the Johnny Cake Lane, tree that came down, which seems like there always was one that coming down there recently. But when they repaired that, the entirety of West Hill went on when downtown went on Wednesday, so we saw a significant jump. And all week long, we recognized that New Hartford was kind of jumping up a little bit better, as good or better than most of the surrounding towns, because it seemed like our damage was highly localized. As the week went on, you know, you have a couple of realizations of what's going on here. Obviously, we like the fact that the town hall was working on the generator, and it really worked seamlessly. The school worked seamlessly, but we did have some realizations of where we could improve. And I'll just say that we did bear some expense during the storm beyond what the school board spent on our behalf in terms of food and service personnel, which will come back to the town, and some diesel to run the generator, which we've refunded, or at least it was in the process of doing it. But I think the things that we've learned is that beyond stating the obvious, that CLNP has been a little bit derelict in their duty to properly maintain their infrastructure, and that their technological infrastructure is non-existent. As a town, our fuel storage tanks in the garage, I believe, are inadequate. You know, when you're dealing with a 1,000-gallon diesel tank that runs not only all of our big trucks, plus our fire equipment, you know, we can burn through 1,000 gallons of diesel in 2 or 3 days. So to only have 1,000 gallons in a complete, you know, disaster situation puts us in a challenging spot if we can't get trucks in here for delivery. So.
Ambulance uses that too.
And the ambulance also, that's right. So that's something that should be considered by this group when prepared for the future, maybe on an upgrade. I don't know what the odds of this type of event happening again in the near term, but if and when that opportunity comes, I think that a 1,000-gallon tank is inadequate for our needs as we grow.
What's the size of the tanks up at the schools? The heating oil tanks?
I think Antolini has 2 10s, and I believe the other schools are, you don't remember, do you?
No, I don't remember.
I think the other 2 schools are 8 or 10. I mean, you could always go tap that if you were really
That's what I'm
jammed.
getting at, is if it was an emergency, heating oil is number 1, diesel is number 2, fuel oil. If it came down to it, you could always siphon that off. But I'm not saying to do that, but if it was an emergency, it's something that should be on an emergency plan as an option.
We did get delivery and obviously
Right.
kept the wheels turning. The second thing that we noticed is obviously all of our police vehicles are A, 2-wheel drive, and B, gasoline driven, and we have no backup for gas in town. So as we go forward with replacement, I think all-wheel drive vehicles should be considered, and some level of gasoline storage for emergencies should be done. We obviously know that, you know, the shelf life on gas might be 2 or 3 months, but the bottom line is that if the gas stations aren't pumping, our guys can't get out for fear of where they're gonna reload.
There was a gas tank at the garage at one time, is that gone?
We took it out.
Took it out. So, and then the third thing is that the generator that runs the town garage is woefully inadequate and won't run half the equipment there. We'll keep the lights on, but not much more. So the generator with that, you know, the guys are trying to change out, you know, plow blades, and they can't run their compressor because the generator won't run the compressor because it's not big enough. So in the middle of a storm, when you want to bang out a couple with a impact wrench or whatever they're using, they're changing it by hand with literally manual. And that's time is money, especially in emergency situations.
What size generator do they recommend over there? What would you say?
I don't have a recommendation yet, but I do have a dollar amount that they've already put out, you know, to consider something in the short term. It could be a budget issue that comes before us immediately, because it's just, we just can't afford to have that facility down. So, even if we bought, 5,500 watt or something bigger than what they have now might go. So, you know, those were the immediate things that we saw. I think we did also, you know, develop a great relationship with Denart Logging in Barkhamsted. You know, for I think it was $120 an hour. The guy is a miracle worker with a logging truck and did a lot of the heavy debris removal long before any of the surrounding towns were looking to hire these out-of-state contractors. We had the majority. I mean, we hired the guy for 8 or 9 days. I think it was $9,500, $95, $96, something like that. And a lot of the heavy storm debris, the big trees that need to go, are long since removed. I think the difficulty we're running into right now is that while we've offered town services to chip debris that is generated from the municipal right-of-way, trees in the right-of-way, there are some people that don't understand what that means. And so therefore, you know, there are those that are trying to
Their whole yard.
clear their yard to the front of the road with the expectation that the town will clear it, and we get into the position of having to describe exactly what the town right-of-way is. You know, which in general, for home user consumption is, you know, the first 10 feet, and if there are no trees and it's all lawn, then one wonders where all the brush came from. It's not the town right-of-way. So it is difficult. A lot of people don't use the language that we use here around this table and have that level of experience, but you have to tell them that, you know, we don't normally provide that type of service. This is an emergency situation. We only have one chipper. We have 85 miles of road, so there's 170 miles of two sides, and you know, we've told people that it could take quite a while, you know, to get the majority of it out. CLMP has come to the table and given the town 5 days of tree pruning services, which we were supposed to be in day 4 today, to cut the broken hangers that are up in the trees. And they started this morning, and then one of the guys felt injured. I don't know that there was an event, but he felt like his neck was hurt, so he went home for the day, and they still owe us basically 2 more days. And our response to CLMP is we've used 15, 20, 30 days, you know, because the tree trimming is so woefully inadequate, and you know, in some roads you drive down, you feel like you're in a cave, you know. But suffice to say that tree trimming will probably be another budget concern coming forward. So all in all, I think that the large part is that we recognize that New Hartford's strength really comes out of the people that live here. You had a lot of people step in, volunteer to clear roads in front of their house, take trees out of the right-of-way, you know, up on Rattling Road. You know, Bob Switzgable and Sundown helped out down on Steel Road. Nick Labadia and Norman Bertrand, I think it is, down at Gordon's neighbors, helped out. You saw it all over town. You know, there were some of the hardest hit areas that we had were highways where the town didn't have to bear any expense through 202. I mean, we must have lost 30 or 40 trees there, or more. Hard to quantify when you can't see into the distance of what, how many there are. You just stop counting. But the state did work. But I think that one of the other things we saw is that they went away from their system-wide redevelopment. They always describe to you whenever they have an outage, they say, well, they're going to do their restoration from the trunk of the tree out to the limbs. Well, I think we all realized that they dropped that system for the storm because they left Route 202 for well over, I believe it was a week, and then Route 219 at Antolini for the Sunday, a week and a day. So they never really did the backbone, that's the term they use, the backbone restoration that they always portray in normal events. And what they did in favor of that was really a backfeeding scenario where they were just trying to get power into town from any location they possibly could. Having Torrington recover so quickly, they really backfed the entirety of the south side through 202, Cotton Hill, Cedar Lane, Gillette Road, all through Torrington as far as they could get it, and up South Road as far as it would go. But they went away from their own thing, so.
Yeah, just before my house.
Well, at some point, they just don't have any capacity.
Just before Brian's house.
I have a question about shelters.
You did for me
Was
for a
the
while.
Antolini shelter sufficient for everybody in town? Is that the only one that we had open?
It was. We only had 20 people stay there,
Okay.
20 to 25. I don't know the exact number, but I could get it for you. Because we did keep a log of everybody that stayed. And we served upwards 90 to 100 meals at maximum capacity. As the power came back, the demand dropped, and I think by Friday we closed it.
So either of the firehouses weren't used as shelters this time?
Ye-
'Cause I remember
For the
way back
emergency
when I
service
was first
personnel, they were
elected,
staying
yeah,
there.
Well, you know,
So.
but not for the people in the town.
No,
Before we had the generator in
We-
Antolini, it used to be the South End Firehouse. But
we had warming centers at both
Right.
here and there, so people could go in there and get water, warm up, charge batteries for their cell phones, keep in contact where possible. But
Okay, well, good
they
to
do
know.
have cots there, and they had a lot of their personnel who were running 24/7 answering calls and going call-outs
Okay,
were staying there, but we did have the Homeland Security cots that have been in town since
Forever.
9/11, finally got used, so we bought 50 up, and obviously those are Litchfield Hills Council areas, so we took 50 of them, some went to Torrington, some went to Hartford,
Great.
so it was good.
The generator, you said that was woefully inadequate, the town generator? Oh,
For the
the
town Public Works
Works
facility. The ones for the town hall and the school, which acts as our shelter, were awesome.
Okay.
Okay.
If I may comment a little bit about this topic, I think everyone did step up to the plate, did a fantastic job coordinating with very limited, ability to converse with each other. I just wanted to make one point though, that, Antolini has been designated as an emergency shelter, but there's been no designation how the funding for that shelter is gonna be. Right now there's a lot of funds expended by the Board of Ed, and I don't have a figure for you at all. It's not a ton of money, I don't think, but there is money expended, and, there's just no provision for that anywhere. And I would encourage us, we're gonna probably be talking with the Board of Selectmen about how that gets dealt with, but maybe moving forward, that there should be something in a budget somewhere that kind of deals with, in emergency situations, here's where this money's coming from, and not necessarily from the school budget. We're happy to step up to the plate and help out, but I just don't think that's a proper place for the educational funds.
Well, we have
Yeah.
contingencies in the budget every year, and we have the ability to add on to the budget. I would tend to do it that way rather than to build it into a budget. And what happens hopefully once every 10 years or so.
Could you not just do a straight reimbursement? I mean, they seem to have had real costs here of personnel and food and so on. Could it be where you would submit what it cost you and?
We're compiling all the figures, because some of the stuff goes along with the FEMA stuff anyway, but it's just the point that everyone stepped up to the plate immediately, there was no questions asked, but there wasn't really any sort of plan, apart from designating the shelter as to how it gets paid for. And yes, there are real hard costs that, we're compiling. I've asked Phil to start doing, or he's already in the process of doing that, but we don't have an accurate list as of yet, and a lot of it's going to be submitted, so hopefully we can get reimbursed through FEMA on it, but it is something that is really a town expense and not a school expense, and right now it's been paid by the school.
What I've asked Phil to do is compile a list. You really have three components. You have the labor component, you have the food component, and then you have the diesel. Because we don't want to put our emergency service shelter at a disadvantage, we're transferring diesel from our tank over to theirs to refill the tank in case we get into a situation where we got to start it up again. We don't want to be with the tank empty. So, but we can quantify that, and that goes right into FEMA reimbursement, all of it does. The question is, what is the mechanism to get them the money back into their budget? That's the option with me is, with Philip, I said, obviously, if you need someone to come, support your cause at that last meeting of the year to get you the $10,000 or $15,000 or whatever, however you want to do it. Obviously, I'll come just like I did last year when he came and he shoveled off the roofs with the heavy snowstorm. So we asked him to spend money, on things that were not in his budget. And we advocated at the end of the year for the one-time transfer to give the Board of Education the money they need. And the question is not the desire to refund the money, and it's not the desire to include it in FEMA, because we most certainly do that. It's just, what's the mechanism? So I think obviously we'll support that.
Would it be prudent to reimburse them after the FEMA paperwork is filed, or it wouldn't matter either way?
Knowing FEMA, I doubt we'll see a check before the end of the fiscal year.
No, but what I'm saying, it will not affect the fileability, so to speak, of the FEMA application if the town has the money and reimburses them, correct?
No, it won't, because that money's just gonna be a check to go into the general fund.
Well, that's really what surplus is for, is to take care of these unforeseen things. And I, as a member, would like to see what those costs would be, Brian. I'd also like to see what the cost of a new gas or diesel tank would be for your town garage or somewhere over there if you can't put it next to the river, and get yourself a generator as soon as possible, because next week we could have another storm. Can you bring those costs back to us at the January meeting? And I don't know how everyone else feels, but if it's reasonable, we can take it out of surplus.
I don't think it's anything that we can't afford at operations now, it's just what happens at the end of the year.
No, but you wanna make sure your emergency infrastructure is up to snuff, so to speak, as soon as possible, because you've obviously identified some deficiencies that none of us knew about. And so the sooner we react to try and remedy that, the better off the whole town's gonna be, and it's a safety issue, health, safety, and welfare of the town. So,
I can bring you numbers for January, if that's what the will of the board is.
I'd like to see myself.
So you want numbers on expanded diesel tank, gas tank, and the generator?
If you had another emergency like we just had, what would you feel comfortable having? I mean, I'm not talking about new police cruisers or anything like that, but the town garage, and what did the Board of Education expend to support the emergency center?
But we should make sure that the emergency center costs, to the extent possible, are put into the FEMA claim.
Exactly.
They're all
So there's
eligible.
money that's coming to reimburse them.
Right. So, beyond that, I bought some pictures, the contract that I informed you of in October for the field house roof is in full swing. A couple pictures of the raised trusses going on. You know, for those that weren't here, the field house has the two low pitch wing walls that are creating a problem. Not only is the roofing bad, but the pitch is so bad that we went with a slightly upgraded contract. I think I told you last time that the low contract was $35,000 to put in new rafters. We went with a pre-engineered truss, which was a slight upgrade of a few $1,000s to put pre-engineered trusses that were manufactured by a professional. So we went with those, and now they are going up. They were delivered today. They got what you see on the photograph was taken about 3 o'clock or 3:30 today. So we're happy with that. Arrowhead Drive, our paving project that was started right in the middle of all these storms, is complete, about $45,000 in paving. A lot of drainage restoration up there, you know, around Lake Luzon. Rebuilt several catch basins and a lot of curbing as part of that, but we just had a lot of water coming into the road from.
A lot of water in the ground.
Yeah, a lot of, on the far side of Troutwood going down to the cul-de-sac, and it looks great. It was paved right after the storm melted out. Obviously, we got great weather to recover from the storm, and still it's been a little bit unseasonably warm, so we're happy with that. One of the things that, just to prep you for as we go forward in the budget process, is that with the approval of Steel Road and our priorities, we have a paving priority on Livery Pool, and we also have a paving priority on Tanglewood, which would have been paved this year had it not been for the quantity of drainage. Is that the recurring theme that we're starting to hear around here is drainage, 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 and not enough manpower to do it. So there'll probably be a part of the request is capital for the town to consider how much drainage we can outsource and put out to bid, because we just can't with our crew. The summer's not long enough to rebuild all these catch basins. We seem to have several 20 to 25-year-old subdivisions that the catch basins are all just falling in on each other. And you can't pave these roads that are falling apart until all the catch basins are repaired. So, you know, Tanglewood, which was slated for, you know, repaving this year, when Doug got up there and evaluated all the catch basins, said, I can't repair all these catch basins in one summer. So we moved to the next nearest alternative, which was Whitbeck. So Tanglewood's still hanging out there, and I think that it's a large thing. We also have a big drainage crossing on Woodchuck, which I have a bid for at $21,000. Again, a pipe that your foreman is notifying you is in fear of collapse and needs to be done, which would be another capital issue, unless we can work it towards the end of the year and I can get it out of operations. So, we did a nice little planting on Winchester Road. We had our beach wrap up. We got a gift of 6 or 8 dock sections from the Westfield Beach Club over on the other side of over on the other side of the lake, which was looking to upgrade their docking systems, so they had 18 sections of dock that they were looking to get rid of, so we dragged them across the lake and put them on our beach, and we're gonna evaluate them, see if we can't improve the canoe entrance and where the police boat is, because the police boat basically blocks where the canoers get in. So we have them, we're gonna evaluate them over the winter and see if we can't restore them, and if they're usable, fine, if not, they didn't cost us anything. So we'll go from there. Obviously, we had an election since we last seen you, and everything went smooth with our election officials, so that went well. And then on top of it, we had several things going on with our surrounding towns. Torrington and the Litchfield Hills Council elected officials are looking to move forward with planning grants for regionalized animal control in terms of not only facility but manpower. On behalf of the town of New Hartford, I have expressed interest in participating in the research component of that. We enjoy a very advantageous position where we are right now. We have a local contractor in town who provides us services. I think we budgeted a total of about $20,000 for animal control services. You know, when you think we have 7,000 people, it's $3 per capita. You don't really see $3 per capita working in other towns. So I've kind of made that point clear, that while you read it in the paper and it says that New Hartford's included, the concern is not that we would get a grant for a facility that would basically be an expansion of Torrington, or designation as Harwinton has a larger facility. The question really goes down to operations and how we fund going forward. We pay per call. We have Les Archer as our animal control guy, and Danny LaPlante is his helper, and they do a great job, but they get paid per call. They're not on staff, you know, full-time benefits thing. So the concern is not necessarily with receiving a grant to have a regional facility or something of that nature. It's what will the ongoing expenses cost to actually go that route. And then
What are we using per pound still?
K9 Depot, and we pay about $6,000 a year to reserve 3 or 4 runs at our discretion. So seems like a lot of money, but building a facility is a lot of money unless it's grant funded. So, but we are willing to listen and be a part of the group. Obviously, Torrington's the abutting town, and if it was to go anywhere, we want to hear them out. So we're willing to hear them out and go forward with the process and learn and understand. I know that some of the other surrounding towns, Litchfield and Goshen, have opportunities and you know, don't have the type of relationships that we have here, but you know, my sentiment is that while we enjoy an advantageous position now, you know, some things just don't last forever, and you never know when it's going to change. So we kind of have to research this as a matter of doing due diligence for our town, and we'll see where it goes. And then we're just starting with the Litchfield Hills group, and there are other things that we're researching, by the way. We are looking at regionalized revaluation and things, regionalized healthcare for municipal employees that are in the infancy stages. I think the animal control is a little bit more tangible, concrete block, and a little bit easier to go after. It's smaller and easier to understand rather than healthcare for town employees. But we also did start on our SEDS document, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy document, that will deal with the New Hartford, the surrounding towns, and the Litchfield Hills, which will make us eligible to become an economic development district, which will give us the opportunity to go for Department of Commerce grant funding for, you know, different opportunities for towns. So just started on that this morning at 9:30, and that is really a reestablishment of a document that was done, I believe, in 2005 or 6. But now the area that it's dealing with is a larger area, because I think they want to include the Northwest Hills and the Litchfield Hills. So you're getting a 20-town region. So, a lot going on. Questions?
Thanks, Dan, for that brief update.
Always a lot going on.
Is there time for a question though? You went on really quickly, but you said the original quote was $35,000 for
Right.
the field house. and it's been upgraded, you know, you put in a little bit more work into it. What's the estimate now for the total job? Do you have one?
For the the construction component is about 38.5.
Okay, so that would be the completed cost for the whole thing, or, I noticed you kinda hedged a little, I mean, the bottom line is that you've got 50,000, okay, is that gonna be enough to cover it?
We have about 3,000 or 4,000 into engineering and specs. So we're about 42.5 right now, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that we don't get a call from our contractor that starts with Dan, we have a problem. So we
So
keep our
40
fingers crossed.
45,000.
42,500, give or
Yeah,
take. I have the exact
Okay.
contract in the office, if you'd like to see it.
No, I just wondered, it's not gonna go beyond the 50, and there might be some money left for the rec studies. Thank you.
If everything goes well.
Perfect.
Okay, other items to come before the board. First one is proposed schedule of meetings for next year. And I've got a proposed schedule here, which is second Tuesday of the month, just like it is now. I've taken a look at that timing as it relates to the Board of Ed regular meetings at budget time. It seems to work out as good as it's going to. I think the bigger thing is what we schedule our special meetings, just to stick around, clear around the dates. So, if there are no alternate suggestions, I'd like to adopt that as our meeting schedule.
February 14th,
Sorry?
February 14th, isn't that Valentine's?
It'll be brief,
Perhaps.
it'll be a brief meeting.
You got your husband here, you're all
Dan,
set.
Dan will do it later.
I'll bring you some roses and let you fun.
I love chocolates.
Usually we have candy in the center.
I'm not bringing you chocolates.
I don't need them.
You want a motion to approve this?
Yes, please.
Make a motion to approve the schedule for the 2012 regular meetings of the New Hartford Board of Finance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Right. Election of the Board of Finance chairperson for 2012. It's a one-year term. We usually elect somebody in December for starting January for the next year.
Well, I think you've done an awesome job, so I would nominate you unless you don't wanna do this anymore.
I will do it. If there's someone else that wants to do it, I'm not gonna get in their way.
I'm gonna second Ben Lee, our good chairman.
Are there any other nominations?
I move we close on nominations.
I'll second that.
All in favor of closing?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, all in favor of me as the chairman?
Yay.
Hey,
Opposed? Abstained?
Congratulations.
Well, thank you so much.
That was
It's
fast.
an honor to lead this crew. I do have a brief letter that Mr. Fitzgerald asked us to read regarding the people that have just left the board, where their term was finished. He'd asked me to read this as part of this meeting. He said I would like to state my thanks to Laura Sundquist, Bill Rieger, Roy Litchfield for their service on the Board of Finance and to the town of New Hartford. I wish to congratulate Alicia Kennerson on her seat as selectman, and thank Alicia for her service on the Board of Finance and commitment to the town of New Hartford. Congratulations to Ben, Dan Charest, Maria, Kate, and Joe on their elections wins and seating on the Board of Finance as regular and alternate members. Congratulations to Dan Jerem, Jack Cassidy, first selectman and selectman. Best of luck to all. Jim Fitzgerald.
I would also like to add that I would thank Roy Litchfield for his time and service on the Board of Finance.
Yep, he was listed.
He was on our-
Yep, he was listed there, yep. So that's that. We will be talking about a capital budget subcommittee at the next meeting, so get some thought about it. We need somebody from the Board of Finance to kind of head that up, and it's once or twice a year, probably twice a year. just pull together what the requests are, but usher them through the approving bodies so that when we get input from the various boards within the town, that we get that and get it into a format that the Board of Selectmen can look and have somebody who's had some familiarity with it. The person doesn't own the budget, but it's kind of helps keep it going, so somebody's looking beyond year one, just looking into 3 or 4 years. And the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance still have the ultimate responsibility to determine what we can approve and, what we can afford and put that part into the budget to go to the people, so.
What's
we'll
the
talk about
composition
that.
of that committee? Who's on it? Member of the Board of Finance, the Board of Ed?
Member of the Board of Finance, member of the Board of Ed, and I think Deb Butler from the public.
And your town treasurer. And your
Treasurer,
first
okay.
Let's see,
I guess I better find out.
Just ask a question.
Okay, anything else to come before the board?
We do have, I'll just tell you, we probably have, just for notice for the next meeting, we have 2 grants going. The downtown rehabilitation grant, which the BOC is getting ready to give us a good update on, as well as we have all the surveying work, which is completed for the downtown revitalization grant for Brook and Bridge and Central. So if things move along, we should have a nice update on the next meeting.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.